Hey YouTube. Alright, so let's get back to this 1322 and let's reassemble this thing, show you guys how to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is reassemble the trigger mechanism. So we put our pins in here, like this right here, and then we're going to put our trigger assembly on this pin and our shear right here, and then our little old spring goes right in there, and then there's our safety. Now this one I modified because I'm left-handed. You can see that we have a couple grooves right there, this little bitty things that I put in, and then we have the factory grooves, and there's a little old ball bearing that goes in there, and that's how I did that. So I'll put it in for left-handed, which would be the opposite of how it was. So I believe it goes something like let me see here. Yeah, okay. All right, so for me it would go just like that. Now that's left-handed. Now then, if you're right-handed, this is the way the gun was assembled, I believe it'll go just like that. So when the right-handed person gets ready to shoot, that would be safety, and that would be ready to fire, if you can see that. So me, I've got to just turn it around. Like I said, I added them two little grooves for the little old ball bearing that goes in there, and believe me guys, that little old ball bearing is small. So I'm just going to put it something like that, and let me see if I can get this on there just to, there we go. So right there is safety. I hit that, and left-handed I do that there. So got everything. Let's get a couple screws started in it. And now the kind of screw that goes in here is just like that. It is called a flathead screw, and I think it's unique to this area. There's no other screws in the whole gun like these. So we get them started. Now then, let's add our little old ball bearing to that before we get too carried away, in case I run into error with this. If I can even pick that thing up. Now that right there is what we're talking about, and that thing is tiny. And you know, in my first video showing how to disassemble this, you've got to be real careful not to lose that thing. And that's the way it assembles. So you see a little spring right here? When you put your air tube on there, that holds the whole assembly down. So in the assembly of this thing, you've got to be real careful not to lose this stuff. So I need my Allen pack. But yeah, be real careful not to lose that ball bearing. And like I said, in assembly this, you know, don't lose the spring either. Like I said, that spring's held in there by the air tube, so it can fall out at any time until the air tube's put on there. So, and these are this snug. I'll tighten them up more later. And there you go. So, okay, and then right there is safety for me, you see. So right there is the safety, and right there is fire. So it would be right opposite if you're right-handed and putting the gun together the way it was originally. So now then, got our O-ring. Let me see here. What do we need to do next? Let's assemble our air valve. So let's put that in there. And right here. Okay. So let's check our holes here, make sure they ain't got no burrs in them. And we've got our air tube all cleaned out. So it looks pretty good. Make sure that it is clean. And now let's assemble the air tube. Now if you'll notice on our air valve right here, it's got these threads. These threads got to line up with this hole right here. And that's really the objective to all this. So we start it real smooth like. And I take the breech end of the barrel, not the muzzle end, because the muzzle has the crown on it and we don't want to mess that up. So I take the breech end and push the tube or the valve down in the tube, and voila. So I'll take something here. I don't know why I even started this without my screwdriver out. There we go. And you see the threads right there? That needs to line up. So we just take it and tweak it around a little bit. And the threads are lined up, which means automatically the other end should be lined up. So everything looks good. Now then, we got a little O-ring here, right there. And we're going to be able to put that on here in a little bit. And it goes on just like that, right there at the tube, and that's how that's done. So we got that, and what do we need now? I wonder, can we Yep, so we got all that stuff. Let's go ahead and mount this on there. Well, let's take that little O-ring out of the way for right now. There we go. Now get it to where I can see down in there to put that little old screw in there. And we're just going to add this one. I believe it's this one right here, this short one. And we're just going to snug it up. Well, no. Aha. Okay, it's this longer one, I guess. Right? Yeah. All right, mistake. It was the longer one, not the shorter one. So let's start it. And let's get it in there. And that way the whole thing is pre-assembled a little bit to where we can still mess around with it and not lose anything. Remember our little spring and ball bearing? Let's make sure this thing works. Alright, so we got that. Now then, let's add the spring right here. Okay, let's see here. Oh, no, got it backwards. Boom, let's add the hammer. Then a little tab that comes out of the hammer. See how that's done like that? There, that won't come out. There we go, we had to pull the trigger a little bit to get it on in there. Then let's put in our spring. Let me see here. All right. And then what do we have now? Let me see here. We have this. And it's got threads. And it slides right in there to where them threads line up. And then on the back side of this, the threads line up too. And that little screw, the short one, goes in that one. So let's see if we can get it started relatively easily. And we do, kinda, maybe. Feels like it. And like I said, it don't have to be crazy tight. I'm just kind of putting this together just to get a good start on it. Whoop, that's a little bit too tight. Okay, leave it a little bit loose, that way I can play with it later if I need to. There we go. So now then, so we got everything, and so we got the trigger assembly. All right. Now what do we need to do now? Okay. Now we got our breech. So let's put in our bolt, and the way we do that, here as you see it's kind of hollowed out there, and our bolt goes in like that. And then we got our little piece of plastic that goes in like so. Yeah, see? It goes in like that. It snaps in place, or at least I think it does. There we go. Yeah, start this end in first and get that end, and then that's how it goes together, if you can see that. So let's take it apart. So, and that's the way that's done. So it goes in and boom. So let's get a bolt started in the other end, but first we need to let me see here, the barrel. So we need our O-ring, which goes in there like that. It's good to go. Then we need our little transfer, which goes in there, I believe, like that, maybe. Yeah, okay, we got that. And let me see here. Where's our, right there. And then our barrel goes in. See that? Then we flip it around and put it on there. And everything seems to be locked in pretty good. So let's hold it together while I check it. Oh yeah, that feels good. Alright, that's how that's done. So now let's add this assembly. This is our rear sight, and that screw goes all the way down into this. So let's stick that on there and see if we can get that started. Well, wait a minute. Let's put this on there just temporarily, just to hold everything to where it needs to be for a little bit while we mess with this. So, alright, there we go. Kind of tedious here. And there we go. So like I said, I'm just going to snug it a little bit. There we go. Now this side is adjustable for windage, as in left and right. So there we go. Alright, like I said, this is just barely put together. Alright, now then let's slide this back out. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot one screw, and that's this right here. And where that goes is, you cock it, and you see that right there? That's where that goes. So let me see if I can kind of finagle it in there, and I can. And let's get my Allen pack, and I believe it's the smallest Allen wrench I got in my pack here. So, see how tiny that is? Now let's see if we can get that started without too much trouble, and we can. And voila, snugged it down a little bit, closed it, opened it. All right. Okay, so everything looks to be snugged down pretty good. Now let's put the pump cup and pump arm assembly in there. So we are ready. All right, so we got our pump cup, pump arm. So let me see here. Put it together for a little pin. And there, like that. And let's slide it in. There we go. Slide it down. Alright, now then, we need to put this in there. There we go. And let me see here. Okay. And then this goes right in yonder like that. And let's assemble that real quick. And if you'll notice, there's a little washer out there by them 2 screws that goes in the trigger assembly to take up slack, and I forgot to put it in. So, looks like that, now then, if you're, I'll show you here in a minute. Don't want to do that. What I've done with this roll pin here, that way you can kind of see what I'm doing. There we go. Alright, now then. Okay. Alright, on that roll pin, I don't know if you can see that, but right there is the slit down the roll pin, and I got it facing away from this right here. So that way it don't wear or nothing like that real bad. So that's how I assemble that. So, looks pretty good. Now then, let's go back and address that little trigger problem, because it looks like that that's really the only thing that I forgot to do. So let's go back and see if I can get that in there. And that way, now I haven't tightened any of this stuff up except for that roll pin. The roll pin is in there now, and that's a done deal. But all this other stuff, the screws and everything, I've kind of left it kind of loose. So let's see if we can put that little old washer back and see how that goes. And now then, alright, let's see if we can get this sucker apart without too much trouble. Oh, look at that. Not a problem. So, this special little washer is, if you can see, it's curved, and it's a spring washer. Now what that does is that takes up slack on our trigger. So we want to put this in here. The curved part, I'm putting it in there like that. That's going down towards the trigger. So the curved part is actually facing up towards me. So that way it don't dig into plastic. The trigger is metal and this is plastic, and I want it to not dig in, so I'm putting it together like that. Now then, so we added that spring washer back in with our take up our trigger slack. And oh, wait a minute. Wait, whoa. Let's I want to check something real quick. Yeah. Just want to check it real quick. I want to see something. Pulling the whole assembly out. And as I suspected, the spring washer goes on the other side. The trigger assembly, or the trigger housing, is metal, and the trigger itself is metal. So it actually goes against metal to metal. So I had to take the whole thing out, which was uneventful so far. Alright, it's not going together. Oh no, the bearing come out. That little bitty bearing. Now that could turn into a big deal. So, I don't know if you can see this, but there's that bearing right there. And that bearing has come out. That's a problem. So this is going to be kind of tedious here. Okay. Alright guys, there it is, that little bearing right there. That was close. So I got to be careful to leave the safety where it's at and not move it until I get the side deal back on there. And that way the bearing will stay put by this flat deal right here. So that goes down there against the bearing and the whole thing is held in place like that. And let me see here. Okay, alright. Yeah, that was close. Now, I cannot stress enough you want to keep up with that little old bearing, because something like that's easy to lose, and you might want to keep up with that little old spring washer and put it in long before this stage. So anyway, things are going good again. We're back on schedule this thing, I guess, and we don't really lack that much. Like I said, everything is just snug, nothing's real tight. So there we go. Alright, so let's go back and let's tighten it all down. And oh yeah, there we go. Alrighty. And then let's tighten these. There we go. There we go. Yep. And there we go. And then there's one left, let me see here. The smallest one of my Allen pack is, remember this one? Right in there. So let's tighten that one up a little bit. And this one don't need to be very tight. There we go. It needs to be snug, don't get me wrong. I mean, you know. Alright. That looks good. So let's put the handles back on it. And the handles go just like that. We got our little screws here. Snug them down. Flip it over. And then we got our other handle. Where's the screw at? Right there. Okay. Alright, found that screw hole. So, and voila. So, that's about it right there. That's the reassembly of the 1322. And all we got to do is just go back here and sight it in, sight that, loosen that screw up, move it left or right for windage, and up and down to sight it in, and we got it. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching.